It only takes 26 seconds for these two wheels to go from 0 to 400 kilometers per hour. It's recognized by riders all over the world as the undisputed king of illegal street monsters. A 4-cylinder engine revving up to 16,000 RPM with a supercharger. Every bit of it screams pure, unmatched power. That's right. This is the industry's gold standard for performance and precision. The most powerful mass-produced motorcycle in the world. The legendary Ghost. The legendary Ninja H2R. It's the twin brother of the Ninja H2. Same roots, different beast. The street-legal Ninja H2 only pushes 200 horsepower. But yeah, that one's legal to ride on roads. The one we're talking about today, the legendary Ninja H2R, has a dry weight of 216 kilograms, revs up to 16,000 RPM, and packs a 998cc inline-4 engine. On the track, it can reach speeds up to 310 kilometers per hour, but once the limiter's off, it effortlessly blasts past a jaw-dropping 415 kilometers per hour. Among non-street legal production bikes, riders call the H2R the Speed King. It totally crushes every competitor out there. Now, let's dive into step 1. Building the Ghost, the H2R's engine. First, place the crankshaft with its gear set on the testing platform. While pushing it forward with your right hand, observe the gear contact gaps carefully. Once you find that perfect sweet spot, mark both gears to keep their alignment consistent. This ensures precise matching later on. Next, as the joints move, carefully lift it and place it into the cylinder block. Then, for each of the 4 cylinders, install the connecting rod caps one by one. Use a torque wrench to tighten each bolt precisely. The torque directly affects how perfectly the crankshaft and rods fit together. That's why experienced masters often don't even need torque gauges. That's what the boss's wife said. Next, grab a few alloy bolts, insert them into the corresponding gear plate, and secure the inner shaft and its attachments firmly in place. After another 10 minutes or so, align the engine halves and fit them together. Let's not even debate whether the precision is in centimeters, millimeters, or microns. Either way, those aluminum parts shine like they're brand new. Focus. As soon as the front wheel is installed, they'll check it again with precision instruments to make sure everything's aligned. This has basically become a shared standard that every major factory agrees on. Unlike trucks, though, motorcycle engines usually use chain drives. That's actually pretty similar to the CVT systems used in passenger cars. Traditional CVTs rely on either steel belts or chains. There's not a huge difference between the two. It's just that steel belts work better for smaller engines, while chains are made for brute power. Next up, time to install the motorcycle clutch. To handle shifting and stop-start control, the clutch pressure plates here are way more than your average setup. First, insert the inner shaft. Apply a bit of grease, pure or not, doesn't matter. Then cap it with a metal cover. Add more grease on top, and finish with another metal cap. The model you're seeing in this video is what the industry calls a ghost bike. No matter how high the quality, how crazy the performance, once it finishes its designated laps, it's dismantled immediately. All the components are labeled and permanently stored in the factory vault. Ducati, BMW, Honda, Harley, they all do the same thing. Ghost bikes are always built using the absolute best parts available. And this one is aiming straight for the world's top speed record to 500 kilometers per hour. I mean, I can't imagine anyone daring to ride at 500 kilometers per hour, but the manufacturer actually made it happen. And remember this, if you've got the guts, you could be a test rider. Each test session comes with a massive payout. Of course, you're trading courage for cash. At speeds beyond 400 kilometers per hour, even the tiniest wobble could turn into a nightmare real quick. Before you know it, the workers have already fitted the aluminum casing onto the cylinder block. Then, using a screwdriver, they fasten each screw in place one by one. After that, they go over everything again with a larger wrench. Once everything's ready, we finally get to see its true form. Gotta admit, when it comes to motorcycle power and engineering, this is next level. Yeah, no doubt about it. Now it's time to build the frame. Most motorcycles still rely mainly on welding, and this one's no exception. If I'm not mistaken, they're using argon arc welding in this video. The advantage of argon welding is that it blocks air from getting in, which prevents the welds from oxidizing. Imagine dropping 200 grand on a bike, and 2 years later, the frame's rusting? Yeah, that's not gonna fly. Once the frame's formed, it moves into the final assembly stage. First, they align that signature exhaust base just right. 4 steel manifolds connect perfectly to 4 exhaust pipes to keep them from rusting. Most bikes use aluminum-plated steel, titanium, or stainless alloys. You know, the top-tier stuff. And the surface isn't painted at all. So even after heat and rain, the color won't fade. Next up, the brake disc. It's being installed right now. This part's one of the most critical ones. Let's talk about it. The disc is made from carbon ceramic material. So what's carbon ceramic? It's a composite made by fusing carbon fiber with silicon carbide at extreme heat. Technically, it's a metal, but definitely not your ordinary metal. Bugatti, Porsche 918. They both use discs like these. So it's no wonder a Ninja H2 can cost up to 700,000 RMB. Even the H2R version in China goes for over 400,000. Then they attach the glowing warning lights. Those are surprisingly cheap. You can buy a pack of them for like 10 bucks. The front windshield also comes covered with a protective leather film, which they peel off right before delivery. Next comes the front wheel setup. Dual brake discs included. Before mounting it, they visually inspect the rubber to make sure it's flawless. No scratches, no scuffs, no defects on the discs. These 2 wheels alone weigh almost 200 kilograms. But even though it weighs 216 kilograms, the wheel is only held in place by a single axle. If you look closely, it's that round hole between the shock absorber and the wheel hub. Once it's aligned, you can slide in this axle. That's less than 5 centimeters in diameter. There's no fancy tech here, just solid metal and precision work. Then comes the front brake, and the retaining ring gets reinforced as well. Finally, the handlebars are installed, attached to the front frame of the bike. As the handlebars go on, the rear sprocket is being fitted at the same time. And one thing to note, compared to a regular motorcycle, the chain on this bike looks noticeably thicker and stronger. They loop it onto the sprocket, tighten it while pushing backward to secure it in place. And when it's time to remove it, you just unscrew it in the opposite direction. The biggest difference between the front and rear wheels? The front one has a brake disc. The rear doesn't. Just like the one we're seeing here. Its tread looks similar to that of a car tire. And apart from the central axle, the rear wheel has an extra ring of bolts. That adds a whole extra layer of safety and stability. Once the main body starts taking shape, they move on to the next assembly step. Here they're using an H2 engine block. But the whole bike is the track-only version. The HR2, not street legal. And since it's not for road use, you can't just buy it in a showroom. Anyone or any team that wants to purchase one has to go through a strict vetting process. So yeah, taking this thing onto the street, not happening. Next, they attach the exhaust pipes to the side of the bike. And after checking that everything's perfect, it's sent over for inspection. This includes the first round of indoor lighting checks, where special lights are used to examine the surface. They make sure there are no stains or scratches left behind. When you run your hand over it, it feels smooth and flawless, like a mirror finish. Honestly, around the world. In 2024, the legendary model didn't even make it into the global top 3. The #1 spot was still firmly held by Honda. And that includes both the domestic joint venture Honda and Sundero Honda. But at least Kawasaki's got something to brag about. And that's pure speed, especially after Kawasaki's own official statements about its limits. Rumor has it, if Kawasaki were to remove the electronic limiter set at 400 kilometers per hour, this beast could easily go from 0 to 400 kilometers per hour in just 26 seconds. Of course, that's based on tests done on a long closed track. And finally, let's check out a live test clip. If I'm not mistaken, it's already hitting a speed of 331 kilometers per hour. So, between this and the Hayabusa, which one's the true king?